Om Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. Dear devotees, namaskars. As you all know, we intended to have the annual celebrations of Ramakrishna Mission Ashrama Chandigarh on 26, 27 and 28 of March 2021. But because of the rising COVID-19 pandemic and the government regulations, and also, that today a Bharat Bandh has been called by the farmers for agitating against the three laws that were promulgated by the central government. So, in view of all these, it is proper that we have switched over to only online annual celebrations. We are not able to hold virtual, real annual celebrations. So we seek your cooperation and are certain that you will enjoy the small programs that we have included for these 3 days, so that you can contemplate, meditate on Swami Vivekananda, Holy Mother Sharda Devi, and Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. It is important that as devotees, as people who are connected with a spiritual purpose in life, we associate ourselves with Thakur Ma and Swamiji as much as possible. Somehow or the other, we have to connect ourselves to Sri Ramakrishna Ma and Swamiji. Give as much time as possible during our daily routine, during our busy schedule, to contemplate on, to think of, to speak about them, to meditate on them, to sing either their bhajans or Nam Sankirtan, or in whatever way, somehow or the other, to connect to these great people. Sri Ramakrishna would say that unless we hold on to God, unless we are able to give a major part of our mind to God, so we get carried away by the worldly responsibilities, by the worldly troubles, and we get afflicted, and then we start complaining that we don't have peace of mind, that we're not able to get sleep. So it is important that we meditate, we contemplate, we think about Sri Ramakrishna Ma and Swamiji, our spiritual ideal. These are the best ideal people for the present day. They are called the Yuga Avatara. Sri Ramakrishna has brought religion to our doorstep. He has made religion so simple. Love God. That is the essence of his teachings. Love God, and Swami Vivekananda extended it according to Sri Ramakrishna's teachings to love God in man. Don't see man as a mere human being, but see the divine aspect, divine potential in each human being, irrespective of caste, creed, race, sex or color, and try to help as much as possible, knowing that you are worshipping God by helping man. You are not helping, you are serving man through your various acts of kindness or whatever it is. You are worshipping God in that man, in that human being, in that man or woman or child. That is the wonderful concept that Swami Vivekananda developed. Yogi Narayana, Daridra Narayana, Artha Narayana. So it is Narayana who is being worshipped, who is being served through these various service activities. So that is the guiding motto of the Ramakrishna Mat and Ramakrishna Mission, to Atmano Mokshartham Jagadhitaya, trying to move on the spiritual path, but at the same time trying to look upon this world as a manifestation of God and trying to serve God in humanity. And then Shivajnane Jiva Seva, trying to serve Shiva, the Lord, through the Jiva, in the Jiva. We have hospitals, we have educational institutions, all these which were started by Swami Vivekananda. But the main purpose of all these is not mere social service, but to serve God in man. So the ultimate aim is to serve God through whatever means possible. So this is the wonderful ideal for the present age that Sri Ramakrishna Ma Sharada Devi and Swami Vivekananda have given us. Ma Sharada Devi, when she went to Benares to see the Sevashrama there, she was so happy seeing the service that is being rendered to the needy in the hospital and said, this is where Sri Ramakrishna is present. This is the ideal for the present day. So this is what we need to do. So these are the great people who have enforced, who have told us again and again that serve God in whatever way possible. And you don't have to run to the forest, you don't have to run to the mountain, you don't have to shut yourself up in a room to look upon this world as something apart from God. You have to stay in this world, do all the works that you are doing, but only with a different attitude, with a different approach, trying to see God in every aspect of this creation. So, Sri Ramakrishna was a marvelous person, as you all know. Swami Vivekananda was inquisitive, had read Eastern and Western philosophy. He was a master in history, and being such an educated and young, bright intellectual, he came to Sri Ramakrishna searching for God. He wanted an experience, a direct experience of God. And when he came to Sri Ramakrishna, what did he find? He found Sri Ramakrishna a sincere soul, a simple man with absolute pure character. But at the same time, he was surprised that Sri Ramakrishna would suddenly burst into praise. He would simply praise Narendranath III in front of Keshav Chandra Sen, Vijay Krishna Goswami, compare them to all these great people who had already earned name and fame. They were popular. Keshav Chandra Sen was popular as Sir Keshav Chandra Sen. Vijay Krishna Goswami was already popular as a saint. And Sri Ramakrishna started comparing Narendranath, who was just a college student, to these great people. He would say in Keshav, if I find one virtue for which Keshav has become so popular, so famous all over the world, Narendranath has got 18 such virtues. And then he would say, I observe people, I look at people. In some people I see one lotus, in some people I see 6 or 8, and in Narendra I find the Sahasradala Padma. So Narendranath said, why do you compare me to all such great people? I am after all a college boy. I am so young, and these people are so popular already. People know them, people recognize them. People will call you mad. You must be attached completely to call me like this. I think it is infatuation. You are attached to me. So don't do this. Then Sri Ramakrishna got worried. He started getting perturbed, and then he ran to Ma Kali and then asked mother. And then the mother, see, Narendra is saying that I am excessively attached to him. I am becoming like Jadabharata. What do you say? And then after getting mother's assurance, he comes back to Narayana and says, no, mother has told me that I see Narayana in you, and therefore I am attached to you, therefore I praise you, therefore I love you. The moment I stop seeing Narayana in you, I shall stop connecting with you, I shall stop talking to you. So this was the ideal that Sri Ramakrishna placed before Narendranath in a subtle way. See, through various ways he was instructing Narendranath, guiding him. He says, you see, to see Narayana in a human being, to see God in Narendranath, was just a college student. So that was the way in which Sri Ramakrishna guided Narendranath. And Narendranath became Swami Vivekananda and put this highest ideal in front of man, in front of humanity. He says, bhakti, jnana, and karma, everything gets combined. All the possible paths to God realization can be combined to this path of serving God in man. This is the highest possible ideal for the present day. Narendranath was always questioning Sri Ramakrishna. He had a very inquisitive mind, a scientific bent of mind. That is why Swami Vivekananda, if you read the complete verse of Swami Vivekananda, if you read even a single idea of Swami Vivekananda every day and meditate on it, you find wonderful explanation to Sri Ramakrishna's life and teachings. The best possible explanation of Indian culture, Indian spirituality, a universal approach to religion you find in Swami Vivekananda. It is through Swami Vivekananda that we need to understand Sri Ramakrishna. We need to understand the wonderful tradition in India. So if we don't read Vivekananda, we can't understand India, we can't understand religion in its true sense. So let us read Vivekananda, let us try to understand Vivekananda, have a modern approach to religion, an approach which is scientific but at the same time which holds on to the tradition also, not superstition, but a practical approach to religion. That is why Swami Vivekananda called it as practical Vedanta. Vedanta which can be put into practice, which can be manifested through every part of our life, through every action in our life. So Vedanta is not something that is to be practiced only in the caves. It is to be practiced in our daily life. Otherwise, religion has no meaning. Religion is something which needs to be in every part of our life. So Swami Vivekananda was very practical in his approach and very pragmatic, and we have the best possible way of applying religion in modern days through Swami Vivekananda. We have today, as a part of this lecture on Swami Vivekananda, we have presented a small lecture by the President of the Managing Committee of Ramakrishna Mission Ashrama, Chandigarh, Shri R.K. Saboo, who is well known, and he has spoken about the universal values that Swami Vivekananda depicted, his scientific approach, his rationality, and how Swami Vivekananda was very clear in his delineation of religion for the modern man. So we are grateful to Shri Saboo for having spoken about Swami Vivekananda, and we are going to present in the days to come, tomorrow and day after, beautiful talks on Sri Ramakrishna and Ma Sharda Devi. So we are certain that you will enjoy listening to these talks and music that we had planned for the annual celebrations. So do listen to them. You can forward it to your friends and relatives so that they can also benefit by learning about Sri Ramakrishna, Ma and Swamiji. So we pray for the welfare of the entire world at this pandemic situation. During this pandemic situation, it is necessary that we respond to the difficulties that humanity is facing through prayer. Let us pray for the welfare of everybody. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhave, Om Asatoma Satgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritangamaya, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Our devotee, regular devotee Sri Raja Chattopadhyay has sung two beautiful compositions, hymns on Swami Vivekananda, which are also being added to today's program. So please enjoy the program. Thank you once for all.
It is an honor for me to speak on the life and teachings of Sri Swami Vivekananda. Narendranath, the great disciple of the great master Sri Ramakrishna Paramahans, was born and brought up in ordinary as an ordinary boy in a pious Bengali family. When Narendranath met his guru, Sri Ramakrishna, a transformation had started. And it was gradual. Why gradually? Because Narendranath had an analytical mind. He would not just not accept any views. Only after repeated questioning and only his doubts were cleared, he would accept an opinion or belief, even if it was about God. When Sri Ramakrishna cleared out his doubts, Narendra became his ardent disciple, and then a great transformation happened. Narendranath became Swami Vivekananda, the great Indian monk who eventually brought international fame and name to India's ancient spiritual wisdom. Swami Vivekananda was the first saint to emphasize the value of strength. He said, centuries and centuries, 1,000 years of crushing tyranny of kings and foreigners and your own people and the caste system have taken out of your strength, my brethren. Your backbone is broken. You are like downtrodden worms. Who will give you strength? The first step is getting strength is to uphold the Upanishads and to believe I am the soul. The sword cannot cut, nor weapons can pierce me. Fire cannot burn, air cannot dry me. I am omnipotent. I am omniscient. Again, he says, do not say we are weak. We have the ability to do anything and everything. He was against superstitions and weakening beliefs. I would rather see anyone who rank an atheist than superstitious fool. For the atheist is alive and you can make something out of him. But if a superstition enters, the brain is gone. Degradation has seized upon the life. Brave, bold men. These are what we need. What we want is vigor in the blood, muscles of iron and nerves of steel. It is a well-known fact that the martyrs of India, the people who struggled for the independence of our nation, faced the gallows valiantly by following the ideals of Bhagavad Gita and Swami Vivekananda. Educating the masses was the prime concern of Swamiji. How can there be any progress in the country without the spread of education? The dawning of knowledge. Know for certain that absolutely nothing can be done to improve the state of things unless there is a spread of education first amongst the women and the masses. Education, he said, must provide life-changing, man-making and character-building assimilation of ideas. He was a champion of women's education. He knew that the nation cannot progress unless its women are educated. The famous foreigner disciple of Swamiji, Bhagini Nivedita, dedicated herself wholeheartedly to the cause of educating girls in Calcutta. Alleviation of the ignorance of the masses by giving them holistic education and making them self-reliant. And that was the main thrust of Swamiji. Swami Vivekananda gave a new dimension to ritualistic religion by stating that God must be worshipped in the living. Service is the needy, service to the needy and downtrodden was the path emphasized by Swamiji. And he quoted, "He who wants to serve the Father must serve the children first. He who wants to serve Shiva must serve his children." He also said, "Unfishness is the test of religion. He who have more of unfishlessness is more spiritual and nearer to God, to Shiva and God, whether he is learned or ignorant. And if a man is selfish, even though he has visited all the temples, seen all the places of pilgrimage, and painted himself like a leopard, is far, far away from Shiva." Swamiji was a champion of the youth. "Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached," was his clarion call to the youth of India to become active and involve themselves in nation building. If you want to help others, your little yourself must go. Your ancestors gave up the world for doing great things. Let me once more remind you that here is a need for practical work. And for that, you should go to the sinking millions of India and give them their lost confidence. Swami Vivekananda, this spiritual giant, was and is revered and remembered not only in India but throughout the world, because he was a true leader who always led by example, by always following what he preached. Swami Vivekananda wanted the men and women of India to be physically strong, to have ignited mind and spiritually evolved souls. I bow my head in the holy feet of the patriot, saint, and builder of modern India, Swami Vivekananda ji. Om Shanti.
परतत्वे सदा लीनो रामकृष्ण समागया यो धर्म स्थापन रतो वीरेशं तं नमाम्यहम्। विवेकानंद स्वामी सकल जग के महाराज, हे विवेकानंद स्वामी सकल जग के महाराज, अवतरे निज धाम तज तुम साधने जन मुक्ति का, अवतरे निज धाम तज तुम साधने जन जगत दान कर संजीवनामृत सूत भारत किया जागृत आसमुद्र हिमाद्रि में फिर छा गया वेदांत राज आसमुद्र हिमाद्रि में फिर छा गया वेदांत राज उठो जागो निद तज अब उठो जागो निद तज अब अमृत की संतान तुम सब उठो जागो निद तज अब अमृत की संतान तुम सब सिंह सम तव गर्जना से जग सकल चैतन्य आज सिंह सम तव गर्जना से जग सकल चैतन्य आज हे विवेकानंद स्वामी सकल जग के महाराज अवतरे निज धाम तज तुम साधने जन्म मुक्ति का हे विवेकानंद स्वामी हे विवेकानंद स्वामी हे विवेकानंद स्वामी सकल जग के जय वीरेश्वर जय त्रिपुरारी गाए हम सब महिमा तेरी जय वीरेश्वर जय त्रिपुरारी गाए हम सब महिमा तेरी जय हो विवेकानंद जय हो विवेकानंद सब महिमा